Testing? Testes? 1, 2, 3?
I don't know shit about fuck.
Are you fucking Canadian? I like sucking.
Come on, man. Legit bad podcast.
He has a legit bad.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
Hello, welcome to Legit Back. We are back.
Did you say legit back?
We're legit back. It's been a couple weeks. We just kind of took an inadvertent break, and that's fine. I'm Joe. Jen's with me. Guest hosting is Andy from the Deep Chair. So I've been on vacation this week. This is gonna be a weird show because I'm rusty. It's been a while, and we'll just see where this goes. But we got a very special guest. Well, first we'll bring in Andy. Andy, how's it going, brother? Thanks for joining. You're on mute. Yeah, you're still on mute.
Sorry about that. How's it going? Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course.
Of course, thanks for coming.
Always
yeah.
appreciate somebody stepping in, especially the last
Always.
minute. But our very special guest. So this dude does epic fucking shows. And when I first found them a couple years ago, I was looking at him like, there's no way this is an 8-hour podcast. That's fucking ridiculous. But I was excited because I'm like, cool, I don't even have to change my podcast all day. I can listen to one show about 9/11 all day. And he does it like no one else because I do an hour and a half show and I'm beating them like ready for a nap. I don't understand how they go for 8 hours, but no more ado. Gordo from those conspiracy guys. What's up, brother?
What's going on, everybody?
Oh, you had a nice little
Pageantry.
there.
What's
Yeah,
the
very
crack?
professional.
Great. It's great to be here. So we're going to be here until what, six hours. This show is going to be.
Sure, you can keep going. I'll
Five,
just leave the
six,
stream up and yeah.
Fucking inflate one of those neck pillows from the airplane or something like that. Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Go get some coffee. Yes, you're doing great, Gordo. Keep going. Before we get started, though, I mean, as if you need an introduction, I'm sure anybody who listens to our show has heard of you. But tell everybody what you guys do besides epically long shows.
Oh, I mean, the show is like a comedy history podcast using conspiracy theories as a lens with which to view the world. I mean, if anyone is into conspiracy theories, you know you're into history because all history is conspiracy. Basically, it's all a well-constructed lie, the noble lie that we've all kind of capitulated and agreed to. And you know, there's an overarching system that we're trying to explore and explain. And the show deals with stuff like celebrity deaths and assassinations, like basically anyone who knows a Clinton. We're talking about like you know, the massive false flags, you know, you got your 9/11s, you got your JFKs, you know, you got your and then like weird kind of science stuff like simulation theory and you know, quantum physicsy type topics as well. And then we do like celebrity not celebrity but like conspiracy celebrity retrospectives, you know, of a show we just did recently on Rasputin. And like, you can't talk about Rasputin without talking about, you know, the whole history of the Romanov dynasty, the Tsars of Russia and all of that kind of stuff. So you think you're going in for one thing and you come out with another thing. As you can tell even by this explanation, it's very long-winded but very detailed and heavily researched. You know, we do like 10,000 words of notes per episode, just like a half a thesis. Wow. And we go hard, we go long, like Ron Jeremy's, and you know, it's all good fun and crack, and like facts sprinkled with comedy, lubed up with fucking anecdotes about wieners, and jammed into whatever orifice is open at the time you decide to press play. So it's you know, I don't know if you can write all that on the back of a fucking cornflakes box, but that's pretty much what it is, you know.
I'm gonna write that verbatim in the show notes. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's really long, and then just have like 4 stars after it. Yeah.
I'm still wondering how you guys have anything to even talk about. Like, you've been going for some years now, and you still manage to pump out long ass shows. Like, you guys do 100% more research than we do. We just get on with people and talk, but you actually look into this shit. So that's my research into you guys.
This is the thing. Now, without disparaging anybody, because I know I'm live here on Rokfin. We got a lot of creators on Rokfin. I'm not talking shit. I'm not a little bit of shit. I'm talking like not shit, but I'm talking about like a fart that followed through, kind of a thing, like a voluminous fart, like shit particles, but not like, I'm not talking full shit here. But yeah, exactly. Who has a fucking fart button? Amazing. I love it.
I have several.
Nice. It's more like a kind of like a juicy one, right?
I actually have
Burrito
that one
farts.
too.
That's the
Not like
one.
that. Oh,
Yeah, wet lips. That's exactly what it is, man. Wet lips. So some conspiracy theory podcasts end up taking somebody on who has written a book or has done a thing, has been to a protest, and it's like first person documentation of something that they've done, or somebody has done all the research and they ask them on, come on for a show, and like, let us glean your knowledge in a kind of an hour-long based format. It's advertorial because they're like, well, I have a book, I want to sell it. You guys love that kind of topics. How am I going to advertise to you? I'd be a guest on your show. We'll do a little thing, and you buy my book, and you get a podcast, and it's quid pro quo, Clarice, right? And you get your promotions. I do have a version of the show that I do with interviews and stuff that I would like to do more of, but I don't do the show like that. I kind of go and read the books and synthesize the information myself. And it's like, you know, these things where you say, if you can explain it to a 5-year-old, you really understand it. So I try to get it down to that type of level. And also like taking all the knowledge from all around the conspiracy universe that I know, and kind of link things together and try and have some suppositions and some kind of, you know, guesstimations about what's actually happening. But it does end up bringing me down some weird alleyways and some weird, you know, rabbit holes, because I'm following the rabbit down. Like I'm reading the thing, I'm reading the books, I'm finding the studies. And there's some people like Greg Carlwood, who actually like reads the actual books, you know, when he's doing the interviews with people. Like Greg Carlwood, amazing. So he's like one of the top, in my mind, top interviewer, because he's actually synthesized. He comes with the information. He knows the questions he's asking. He's not just letting someone rattle off some you know, blurb about their book. And then there's guys like James Corbett, who like, I'd be more of that kind of, I would aspire to that kind of style, because that motherfucker's like making information. You know, he's making brand new shit that no one's. He's like, did you know this and this and this is connected to this and this and this? And you're watching his I remember watching his YouTube channel like 6 or 7 years ago, going like, is this guy, how come this guy doesn't have his fucking Discovery Channel, like his History Channel show, like to top quality hour-long, 2-hour-long documentaries, animations, and fucking all this. His show on oil and how oil works, or on the monetary system, on the Federal Reserve and how that works, like both of those are fucking world class, like top level.
He's amazing. Yeah,
amazing. So that's what I would aspire to, is that type of style of show where I'm synthesizing the information and getting smarter as I go. And you know, the whole thing about understanding is like, you have to build on. It's like a college course, you know. You learn your thing, and then the next semester you learn another thing that kind of slightly changes the opinion you had of the old information and builds upon it as you gain knowledge. Because if you just start at the end and everyone says, look it, they drink the children's blood because it's awesome, and it fucking gives them the fucking blah, 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 and they go into another dimension. If you got told that now, you might not believe it. You're like, no, I can't believe it. But as it goes, just drip feed it. And then at the end, you're shown like the fucking answer to the universe, and you're like, oh, of course. Do you know?
Yeah.
It's one of those things you have to get it piecemeal, or else you blow your mind, like in Highlander.
Well, I feel like
I know everything. Like
most of us aren't very surprised by anything anymore. If you've been in this game for a while, I imagine you're somewhere on that level too. Just like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. Like they do this to kids and they drink the whatever. And you know, not to get dark today, but nothing surprises me. I would totally believe it if they had unarguable proof that happened. I'd be like, yes, that makes sense. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, is there not already proof? That's the thing. Like it's dark territory, and you have to protect your mind palace against these things living in there. Like as soon as you know something, and you can't unknow it.
Yeah,
like
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I'm saying. It'll live in your head, and if you don't have it put away, like put all the toys back in the toy box, it can fucking fester and start destroying childhood memories and start giving you like, you know, crazy burnout or depressions or just apathy and like intellectual burnout. You know, I kind of been suffering a bit of that, where it's just like, is this the fucking same shit? And I've been telling everybody, and nobody's listening, and they're all going on the same shit. And the people, and even still, after the last 2 years, they still are like, yeah, come on, yeah, Kamala Harris is a nice person. Yeah, come on. We did it, Joe. we did it, Joe. Like, fuck that cunt. Fuck Nancy Pelosi. Like, how can you look at those people and not realize that they're satanic, like, lizard monsters or whatever? Fucking Nancy Pelosi with little fly hands, like, Ukraine. Like, how can you not? But then at the same time, you're telling everybody, and they're like, maybe it's just, and you're like, and just fucking blood vessels popping in your brain, destroying childhood memories, because you're like, how can you not understand this thing? Like Johnny Mnemonic, we've got to delete a part of your childhood in order for you to understand how evil Nancy Pelosi is. You're like, like, that's how it works. Andy, sorry I cut you off there.
Oh, not at all. No, I was just going to say that I've noticed since being in this game and kind of being curious and looking into different topics for things to research or present. There's a lot that I won't click on because of like certain content or something like that. There's stuff that I won't watch, and I'm the horror movie guy. I love all that kind of stuff. I'm, obviously know that the world is really fucked up, but there's like some really dark territory that really almost none of us really talk about. You only get these like weird Instagram accounts that are like talking about all this dark shit with all this creepy footage that might be real, all the child stuff and everything. There's stuff that's like, oh my God, I hear children screaming for the first 3 seconds of this video. I haven't seen anything. I'm out of here. Like
the Skippy video. Did you watch Skippy? Did you ever see that video?
I don't know.
I have regrettably watched that video.
Yeah. Skippy.
I don't know that one.
I had a hard time with
Skippy.
I had a really
kid
hard
is in the
time.
fucking
That's the one with the kid in the shower.
Kid in the shower cubicle, and John Podesta's like, "Yo, call me Skippy. I'm your daddy now." And you're like, "What?" And I'm trying to be like, how can we take that for a loop and we put it into some like boom bap, like be like, Skippy, you call me Skippy. Just mix it up or something, some fucking Podesta remix, like. But yeah, like
anytime that stuff is shared, it's only from like accounts with like 4, 5, 6, 7 at the ends, because they had to keep like making new accounts because they're just getting completely railroaded immediately.
Yeah, of course, because it's like child abuse on Instagram. It's not cool. Yeah. Like all those live leak, like risky clicks on Reddit, or you're going down like mad, like fuck my shit up, or fucking some took too much, or whatever these subreddits are, and you click live leak, and there's somebody like peeling off strips of their own face and eating it like fucking like beef jerky, like, and you're like, oh yeah, humanity's fucked, But you remain hopeful. You're hopeful.
Yeah, dudes chopping their own dicks off and stuff on,
on
a cutting board. Like, I've seen that. That was enough.
The Pan Olympics, man. You get the get the thread and just wrap it around 100 times, and your dick just pops off like a fucking hot dog. Like,
What?
It happens. But you see, the thing is, we're stealing our minds to this stuff.
Yeah,
that's why people look that stuff up. There's a certain I mean, we're already deep, right? Will we keep going? Is this?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's keep digging. Right. Yeah. There's a certain thing, I think, in a lot of us, right, where we realize, conspiracy people, we realize like there's a certain element of the world that's unforgivably and irreparably fucked, right? And I think it started maybe in the mid 90s, early 90s, and there was like this apathetic kind of the grunge movement, where it was basically like absolution of all personal hygiene, personal responsibility, personal like the finance game was fucked. Like people couldn't buy anything, we hadn't got any money, we were just coming out of the 80s recession, and it comes in like 30-year cycles, right? So like in the 60s there was this hope and there was this change, like feminism and civil rights and and there was a little bit of progress, and then through the 80s all that stuff got recessed. So we're in this again, this I think spiritual psychological depression in the 90s, and most of us had our childhoods there. We're all in our 30s, so like we were born in the 80s and grew up in our formative years, early teenage years in the 90s, being pretty despondent, pretty hopeless, and that's a place that we're all very comfortable in. So if you're exposed to that stuff at a young age, that's the kind of that's your comfort zone, it's easy to go back there, and sometimes like that's why ketamine is such a popular drug of people of our generation, because it's just like, I want to be nothing. And as we went through the 2000s, there was again a build-up of hope. There was, .com bubble, people started buying stuff. We got to 2008 and it was like, God, again. And we're at the time when we should be leveling up as a generation. We should be buying houses, getting married, having families, when instead we were all told we're financially fucked. The world is fucked. Finance is impenetrable. Like the financial world or owning property is impenetrable. People started like mass migration. Nobody was, staying in these countries because we'd gone to college. And I mean, God bless anyone in America who went to college anytime between 1999 and 2008, because you motherfuckers are six figures in debt, never to pay off. You have a fucking house worth of debt, like a mortgage worth of debt to pay off for a degree that's kind of like not really useful, because everybody has one. And so there's again another layer of despondency, another layer of basically just like check out demoralization, just demoralize the whole population. And now we're coming into a time again where it's like you can't do nothing about the war. People are protesting like massive things like school shootings, Ukraine, Roe v. Wade. It causes like maybe a week's worth of outrage. There's only a week's worth of emotional response left in people because we're so burnt out emotionally from this lifetime of like boom bust emotional like an emotional economy that's been boom busting for so long. So we look at this awful stuff and we think it's totally normal. Like the whole generation that's coming up behind us, like older millennials, young millennials, and older Generation Z. There's like suicide comedy. You're all about death and destruction, and like all the comedy shows are all about like terrible, awful people. Like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, it's about the worst type of people. Like, and we're like, this is hilarious, and you're like, no, it's not. It's fucking disturbing. And if you showed this in the 90s, like, look what was on in the 90s. There wasn't even black people on Friends. Do you know what I'm saying? It was so not edgy, right? And now it's like everything has to be super edgy and super like crazy, like offensive and crazy. Like Always Sunny is a very good example of the point I'm making. Like that type of comedy where there's like a murderer, rapist, a closeted gay guy who's like violent, a drug-addled spastic who's fucking huffing paint and writing songs about spiders in his mind, like, and a totally self-obsessed, image-obsessed, kind of delusional like comedian woman who's willing to sell her body for like money to put babies in or what. All of these mad fucking like outer rim of human acceptability, right? And we all think like this is hilarious light entertainment because our fucking minds are poisoned. We're all broken from just that emotional economy of boom bust. Like our emotional Federal Reserves are fucked. Like the currency is not worth anything, If we want to feel something, it has to be extreme. So there's a chaos on the outside that we all feel, and we're trying to push back against. Like the world is in chaos, and we feel inside that it's wrong. We're like, what can we do about it? So a lot of people expose themselves to terrible things, drinking, drugs, watching awful videos of cunts getting their face chopped off by Brazilian drug gangsters. All of these things that people will consume voluntarily because they're like, I feel terrible inside, but I don't have a reason to feel terrible. What's the reason for me feeling terrible? Is it because the world is fucked? Because I don't want to really admit to that. If I admit to that, sure, I might as well fucking blow my brains out. I know. I'm going to watch an awful video about like a Colombian gang chopping a lad's skin off and pulling it up like a t-shirt and tying it at the top and filling it full of boiling oil. That make my anxiety justified, So like, that's why our generation are looking that stuff up. That's why we're looking at this conspiracy stuff, because we're like, we need a reason to feel bad. I don't know what the next step is, but I've been looking back over this stuff for a really long time, trying to figure it out. Like, the world is ostensibly fucked. What are we going to do about it? That was a weird, dark.
That is the question. That's usually how every show ends, is what the fuck do we do about this? And nobody seems to have come up with an acceptable answer for that yet.
Well, a lot of people go like, just burn it down, start again. And I'm like, no, they're like, anarchy, nihilism, everything's fucked, total communism, that'll fix everything. Just make everybody do a fight club. That's what they're saying. Do a fight club. And you're like, do you know what happens when you do a fight club? Millions of people die, millions and millions and millions. It's like Stephen King's The Stand when you do a fight club. You ruin all debt, ruin all money. A full global world war is probably what we are heading towards. I mean, that's what the leaders would have you engage in, right? And according to I did a live show in London and Manchester last year, and I like to, when I'm doing these live shows, like take a concept from a book or some kind of philosopher or some kind of a sociologist, and try and explain it and talk about it with the people in the room. So one of the ones I did for that show was The Fourth Turning by Neil Howe and William Strauss. And basically it's about like looking at the generations of humanity and how they fit into these like pretty I guess like pretty handily broken up 80-year slots, called saeculums. So you take a saeculum of 80 years, you split it up into 4 generations, and the people born in those sets of 20 years all have a generational delineation. Like we have the boomers, we have the millennials, we have the Gen Xers, we have the millennials, and we have the Generation Z. And each of them take a role within that 80-year cycle. And it always starts at a period of very high prosperity and advancement and progressivism, but it always ends in like a global world war catastrophe where population jumps down because of death through war, famine, economic downturn. We're at the period of the end of the fourth turning, according to that book, which is like 2020. And it's kind of looking like it's kind of right. Like he wrote it in the late 80s, early 90s. It was published, I think, in 1993. And he's basically going like, this, we're in the third turning. Get ready, from the year 2000. It's going to be the fourth turning. The last fourth turning happened World War II. The turning before that happened, it was the Civil War, 80 years before that. And then 80 years before that again was the War of Independence in America. So it's like you think about the generations, think about what happened progressively. You look at like the different generations, it all matches into this format of like a boomer generation, a Gen Xer who rebel against that, the millennials, which are the soft emotional types, and then the Generation Z, which are usually the silent generation. They're the ones who can't affect any change during the cataclysm, but they're the ones that are left holding the bag during the period of prosperity. So yeah, that shit fits the frame. So like, I mean, without sounding really pessimistic, a big world war is probably what's on the cards. Some China getting into Taiwan and kicking some shit off, and we just blow a couple of billion on a load of rockets and kill a bunch of people and then kind of start again from the rubble. But I definitely think it's facing east. America's going to lose its empireship, and these are the things like that I think about. This is why the shows are 6 hours long. Okay, guess like that. I'm aware this is live as well, so everybody's like, fuck this guy. What the fuck, man? It's a fucking Thursday night. Relax with it.
No, if anybody's listened to our show before, they can deal with a lot. I mean, we're the hosts, so
Yeah.
no.
Go,
Where
go,
does
go.
that book go though? Where does that go after the fourth turning? Is he just say you're fucked after this, and that's
No,
the
it
end of the
goes
war?
back to the first turning, which is the hope that I was bringing. Like I have a show on my feed, the live show from Manchester, when I talked about that. Like, obviously we're in the fourth turning. It's a terrible, awful time. The shit's going down. I did this show last October, and I was like, okay, we're due a war, probably going to be in Ukraine. Said it on stage, and I'm like, because that's what it's looking like. They're setting that shit up since 2014. Also, like the Bidens have all their money in there, the Pelosi's, the John Kerry, and the Bushes, and all those motherfuckers launder money through it. So obviously that's going to be the place, And what comes after the fourth turning is a great period of prosperity and advancement, usually. So like think about the 50s, the late 40s and early 50s. How many laws were made, how many societal changes, how many technological advances, like the people's standard of living went up because everything crashed during the war. Everything was fucked. It was kind of like a Fight Club moment where, he's standing there with what's her one's name? Marla, and the Jack, I think the character's name is Jack, is like Jack's swollen colon or whatever, but I don't think they give him a name. But in the book, it's Jack or whatever. So Jack and Marla are standing there watching all the fucking buildings fall, the credit card buildings, and they're like, "This was a good thing to do," That's kind of what they're expecting, where an empire will fall and another one will rise. That's kind of what happens,
Yeah,
And it seems like the same characters maybe are running every one of them. Like they just kind of sit back and let it all fall, and they're like, "Okay, here we go again."
Yeah, well, look, this is part of the conspiracy thing. Like,
Right.
So you're looking at these things like you could look at it in the micro and the macro. So you look at the micro, which is like, let's look at the dollar. Let's look at the petrodollar. Let's look at the petrodollar being made insignificant because petroleum is being devalued. So it was gold up until 1971, until the Bretton Woods Agreement was dissolved, and then it turned into petroleum after peak oil. And if you're going to, to disengage from petroleum as a way to set the value on the back of your currency, what's the next thing going to be, so you can look at it in the micro as like, nickel and dime dollar, Federal Reserve, like quantitative easing and fucking Janet Yellen's dry flaps or whatever. Sure, let's look at it that way. Or you could look at it in the macro, which is pull back a little small bit and go, who's behind that all? These dynastic families that are beyond royalty, that are beyond politics and presidents and kings. These guys that have, fraternal organizations that span over hundreds of years that are passing down information from one generation to the next, where they benefit in the short term in their own lifespan, but in the long term, they're benefiting their organization and those affiliated by sharing information over hundreds of years, if over decades, if not centuries, because that's how you generate generational wealth, is over centuries, not some cunt buys an NFT and sells it for 80 grand and then buys like a big chain and is like with some fucking diamonds on his teeth going gang gang motherfucker. And you're like, no son, like that's a waste of money. You need to be having like 8 kids, train them all up in like banking, send them to loads of different countries, do a Rothschild on it. That's how it works. To look at how those bigger things operate, kings and kings and princes and presidents, like that's the macro. That's the history aspect of the show that I like to look into. We just did, like I said, the one on Rasputin, and looking into the Romanov family, like all those motherfuckers are German. And then looking into the kings and queens of England, they're all fucking German. The kings of Germany, they're all English Germans, Saxe-Gotha, like everyone's fucking related to everyone. They're all riding cousins and having fucking cleft palates and inside out ears and fucking webbed fingers. And they're all like, we are the kings of everywhere. Like everyone's related to everybody. Nobody fucking knows that shit. Nobody knows the Queen Victoria, the most English of English women, with her little fucking bussy and a big fucking arse like Lizzo going around in her 5'2" and she's a fucking massive hole on her. Nobody knows that the bitch had a fucking German accent. She was fucking German, man. She was part of a German family. And then her nieces, her grandnieces, they were all sent off to loads of different countries to take fucking sperm donations from German lords and Dutch and Danish lords and Russian princes, just dumping ropes into these fucking German inbred cunts and spurting out little babies that ended up being like claw-handed fucking thalidomide princes of Europe, like, and they fucking run the world. Because they're just like, oh yeah, you're going to go and marry your cousin Wilhelm, and he's going to blow ropes, and you're going to have 9 babies, and all of them will be called Wilhelm, and they're going to go to be the princes of all the other countries. Everyone's called Wilhelm. Like, it's fucked up, dude. And nobody knows that. Nobody realizes that until they start looking into it a little bit, and then it melts your face.
And then you shut down because you don't want to have to acknowledge that what you just found out was true, so you go back to doing what you did before, and yeah,
exactly. And then of course, like, they'll fucking confuse you by saying shit like the Earth is flat, we didn't land on the moon, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, and you go off down this way because it's too hard to fucking, the real stuff, the real history is the thing that I'm very interested in because it's tangible, it's provable, and it's nice to speculate and go like, maybe there is aliens, oh, maybe we live in a simulation. This shit of like, how can they fit a car with like 2 people, a driver and a passenger, in between the white lines on the road, and you can fit a bus which has 4 people and like 60, and the thing in the same thing, like the fucking simulation is broken, they're not supposed to fit. Like, it's fun to think about that, but you're distracted from what's actually happening, which is the fucking German cunts are the princes of everywhere. Like, look at the lads that run the world now. Like, you're talking about your Bezos, you're talking about your Musks, you're talking about your Gates. Like, look at who their fucking parents are, look at who they're related to. Elon Musk's dad was a fucking slave owning emerald mine magnate. His all of his family were all fucking like slave owners. Like, that's where he got his first monies from. Look at Bezos, man. Bezos is so deeply CIA, it's not even funny.
Really?
Yeah. Look at who Jeff Bezos' dad. Look up hold on now. Jeff Bezos' dad.
I've never looked into him.
Look up Jeff Bezos' dad.
I just know he's like Dr. Evil looking,
Yeah, with his one good eye. Who's Jeff Bezos' birth father? Theodore Jorgensen, who was Theodore Jorgensen. What's he again? He was something weird.
He was a German something.
Kind of
Interesting.
German. We do live
Jorgensen.
Googling. I love it. This is what we do.
Sometimes you gotta, right? Sometimes it's like, this is too important to just flub over. Let's get the right thing.
Yeah. I want if I'm doing it, like, I know it's live, so you're like, oh, and you see my eyes, I'm like, enhance, like fucking CSI or some shit, like bring it in, turn it around, zoom in, enhance, like this kind of stuff. Yeah, I can't find it now, but I'll send it to your people later. I'm sorry. But yeah, Jeff Bezos was into some shit, like, you know, all these guys are part of DARPA, like every motherfucker in Palo Alto. They all have like a DARPA fucking pass. Like they all got like groomed by the intelligence community. Like these motherfuckers, like all of this shit. It's so insidious. But nobody wants to look into the history of it, because like then they won't be able to use Instagram anymore. Because they're like, well, I like it. I like using TikTok. But like the new TikTok terms of service that came out last week or the week before is like, yeah, so we're going to take all your information and we're going to actually like go through the messages that are in your phone as well. And basically, if you accept this to look at more bitches with big tits doing this, like you can look at those titties jiggle, but also we're going to get access to every fucking single thing in your phone, including like your geolocation data. We're going to glean your text messages and emails. If this is installed on your phone, we have everything. And yeah, and if you like titties, you know, like that's 2 weeks ago. Like the American government is actually going to be banning TikTok, the FCC, because the terms of service.
I thought they did that like 2 years ago. I thought they were going to ban it like 2 years ago.
They were, and then TikTok changed their terms of service, but now they snuck it in again last week. FCC is banning TikTok.
So as fucked up as that is, I just assume already that anything on my phone is out there in some government agency or some corporation already has it. I don't have TikTok, but I don't think it really matters. I think Apple probably has all my shit, you know. I mean,
yeah, but why are you okay with that? Everyone's just okay with that because we've all been demoralized to accept that as the normal.
Well, it's also like, how can you can go buy your own land, but who are you paying for the land, and you're paying for it monthly, you know, property tax, and like everything's owned. It's all we're in the matrix regardless, right?
Yeah, but saying stuff like that and then understanding it is two different things. I know you might say that and you understand it, but a lot of people are like, yeah, man, we're in the matrix, man. So what does that mean? I got a black friend. He's got a shaved head and you know, I like using old phones, man. We're in the matrix, bro. I have a long coat.
Yeah, we have a long problem of people taking things literally instead of metaphorically and allegorically. A long history of this.
Yeah. So Federal Communications Commissioner, so the main motherfucker at the FCC is basically like mandating Apple and Alphabet, which is the Google parent company, to remove TikTok from being able to be downloaded from the app stores because it's now, with the new terms of service that got released last week, it's an unacceptable security risk. Because they changed the fucking terms of service so they can get everything in your phone. So if you haven't installed it on any of your devices, they just waited. They tried it like a year and a half ago, and then they got caught, and they were like, "Oh, okay, let's pull back a little bit. We wait until they're, you know." And then just fucking all of a sudden, so the FCC are trying to take that shit out. That's
weird. Is the FCC on our side?
No, they're just like they don't want. That's the link there. I just said they're not. They're like, oh, the Chinese are taking the data. We want that.
Yeah,
you don't want to share it. We spent all this time making these cunts buy these fucking phones, like, and then they're just going to come along and make an app and just get ahead of it. It's like, no way. We've conditioned these people to give us their information. You're not just going to sweep in at the last minute, at the you know, and get it. Do you know?
Yeah.
So like, the mad thing is, like, everybody knows, like, yeah, man, you know, you cover your camera so people don't have videos of you jerking off. And then, mystery of all mysteries, there were some, like, in 2012 and 13, I remember there was so many of the people we like, I knew, girls, that were putting like little stickers on the cameras was like, why are you doing that? Because I don't want people looking at me through their camera. And I'm like, why would you think that? Well, Edward Snowden says they do that. I'm like, okay, cool. Fast forward 7 years later, and they're fucking fingering their pussies for $6.99 a month on OnlyFans and going like, yeah, it's a legitimate business and sex work is real work. So, and I'm like, what was all the fucking stickers on your laptop for then, you stupid cunt? Why were you trying to
But they're not
protect
making
people
money on
spying
mobile.
on you, and now you're voluntarily showing pictures of your fucking gash? Like,
Can't get it for free.
yeah, I wouldn't let him leak it. Like, hi FBI guy, and just go fucking, you know, my FBI agent is delighted. It's just loads of me going like that's your thumbnail as well, by the way, for the show.
Throwing ropes.
It's blowing ropes. It's bonkers. Like, to be demoralized the fucking society enough to be able to go like, yeah, I'm going to show pictures of my wide open arsehole. Like, you'd be able to see my dinner for $6.99 a month. Like, that does not make a goddamn bit of sense. And the people feel empowered by doing it. I'm like, I don't think so, bro. I don't think so. Well, maybe that's my prudish Irish sexual morals, but I just think for as long as people were like, oh my God, they're looking at us through our webcam. And it's like, now you're showing yourself through your webcam. But they made you feel like you were in charge of that. They fucking brainwashed you into thinking that it was your choice. Like, that's what fucking abusers do. That's what pimps do. That's what pimps do to their fucking whores, to their hookers. Bitch better have my money. Is Wayne Brady going to have to choke a bitch? Like, this kind of shit. Like, they'll slap you a few times. You know, you ever read that Iceberg Slim? You ever read Pimp by Iceberg Slim?
No.
It's a book by this pimp, and his name is Iceberg Slim. And he careful now. He basically tells, like, if you've ever watched, I think the bird, what's it called? The Bird Conundrum or something like that. It's the Dave Chappelle special that was released in 2017, and he's sitting on a stool downstairs in the Comedy Store. Iceberg Slim. Send you the link here. And it's on Amazon because fucking Bezos get the twist here. There you go. Iceberg Slim. Pimp. The story of my life. That's basically this pimp that was like, this is how you fucking control people. And if you read that as like a voyeur into the sexual actions of hookers and prostitutes and sex workers, but also like from the mind of a pimp, he's like, yeah, what I used to do is I used to get a wire hanger. And I just bend a wire hanger, and I'd beat a bitch with a wire hanger. And wow. He said, like, you only have to do that once or twice, like, and they'll never misbehave again. And Dave Chappelle does this thing in his special. He talks about like how many fucks a prostitute would have. And it's like Iceberg Slim was able to look at a woman and go, she ain't got nothing but 200 fucks. And he knows, like, after she has sex with 200 clients, she's going to be mentally broken down so much that she's not going to be any good to him anymore. So he knows, like, right, the first 100 have to be, and you'll get it. And then the last 100 and the last 20, she's starting to break down and starting to be like, all, PTSD. And he's just like, so he doesn't go hard on the abuse. At the start, he has to like break her in like a horse. And later on towards the end, he's like, he knows when she's about to fall off. So he kind of pulls back a little bit on the abuse. If you read Iceberg Slim's Pimp and you transpose that concept to the political control mechanism, the psychological mainstream media control mechanism that's been used on us over the last, let's say 3 years, exactly the same, man. They came in March 2020 and they started they had a wire hanger and they fucking tore strips off us, put us in, like, and then when we were like, hey, this is too much, man, started having protests in the summer. They were like, okay, you can have 3 weeks outside. Go on. Get yourself, here you go, baby. Get yourself something nice in the store. Go down and get yourself some nice shoes. Get yourself get some cocoa butter. Well, lather yourself up. Get your nails done. Get your hair done, baby, for the summertime. And then come September, it's like, bitch, where's my money? Get back in the house. You're locked down again. And it was this fucking cycle of like, and everyone became super hyper vigilant. That happens when you're getting abused. Like, everywhere's a fucking danger. Like, you're looking what's going to happen, and where's the next slap? Where's the next fucking wire hanger coming from? Like that. It made people end up going like, what's a legitimate way to earn income? I just show pictures of my arsehole for $6.99 a month because I can't go to work. Like, Blows my mind.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
when you were
what do you
talking
guys want
about
to talk about?
going,
Sorry.
no, I just was going to go back to what you were saying. Why we'd be okay with like knowing that our phones are constantly tapped or something. It's not that everyone's okay with it. I just think nobody really knows what the fuck to do about that besides literally going full. What's the dude's name? The Unabomber. What was his name? Like
Ted
going full,
Kaczynski.
yeah, going full off grid and just going away from society, which is something we dream about doing all the time. But it's actually really fucking expensive to do that. So most people don't have the capital to be able to do that. I don't know what your thoughts on going completely off grid would be. I don't even know if that's possible in Ireland, or here,
It's
really.
totally possible. But the thing is, they've made it prohibitively expensive. Why do you think that is? Why do you think it's so hard, lads, to eat healthy food? Why is the healthiest food so expensive? And then the shit is really cheap. Like you can buy potato chips and burgers and fucking milkshakes. You can buy pre-processed food and Hostess Twinkies that last for 1,000 years. There's always jokes in the zombie movies about that shit.
Oh yeah.
And then you go to buy vegetables and non-battery chicken and like non fucking antibiotically blown up beef. Like I don't know what the fuck is going on with the American food shit at the moment. Like you see all those food processing plants all being burnt down through arson, electric failure and shit like that.
Planes crashing.
Where are all the interviews with employees at these places? By the way, not to take us down any sidetrack, but like not a one. Where are the people that worked at all these places? Not a peep, nothing. At least not from what I've been able.
How many people work in those places? Thousands. Are they illegal immigrants so they can't say anything because they're afraid? Is there people coming along saying like, look, if you're not going to say nothing about this because we have some shit on you? Are they encouraged to engage in illegal activity? Like everybody has something,
Or what if it's maybe like, we're closing the plant this week. Oh, look what happened. Oh, no one was in the building, so no one knows what fucking happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like none of those things are being investigated
COVID,
properly.
so let's close.
Like there's a map. There's a crazy like hot. I see. I might have it here in my pictures, in my images. I tend to save everything. There's like a hot map of where all of these fucking venues, all of these food processing plants, all get burnt down. And you look at the map and all across America, there's hundreds of them, like since 2019. I'll try to find it here. Food processing.
Well, it's just part of it. I think we talked about this on the last show, but it's just part of the multi-pronged, takedown. You've got the gas thing, the diesel oil shortage that everyone's talking about now.
It's all manufactured. It's all manufactured.
Yeah, it's the fall of the West, and it's really kind of disturbing how many times I still, with everyone, sharing everything and learning all this stuff, I still see so many people kind of like sharing these gotcha moments where it's like, yeah, see, this politician said this. It's like, yeah, but they want you to know they're full of shit. They want you to lose faith in all of it. The whole system is going to break down. So it's like when people try to be like, oh, well, we could get him in trouble for this. That's what they want. If they lose face, it's actually a good thing. Like there's no way that your governor in California thinks that he's convincing. Well, maybe he is. I don't know, especially in your state in California. Maybe he is convincing a lot of people. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, all right. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll throw this map up. Yeah, I'm gonna throw it up on the screen here because that's wild. I've never seen this one. That is quite a bit. See if I can zoom in on it a little bit here.
Holy shit.
I mean, look at the U.S. It's all over the place, but the U.S. especially.
Like it's the destruction of the food system, like, and then having tying these mad shits together, like Bill Clinton, this fucking Bill Gates being the largest landowner in the U.S. Like, what the fuck is that? Is he going to be like the number one cockroach farmer for making those fucking Snowpiercer like gunge bars for people to eat when you can't eat fucking chicken or beef anymore?
Mealworm granola bars.
Yeah. You know what? That's why I think Joe Rogan is so famous. They're allowing him to still be so famous because there's some kind of thing in the back of our minds that remembers fear factor, and that's the food that we're going to be eating going forward. So just like just keeping that into consciousness, you know, that trauma of watching people like eating those mealworms. That's why
Remember the
we're keeping
Madagascar
Jaw at the
hissing
forefront.
cockroaches? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I'm doing Mickey D's near you.
It's already
It's-
at McDonald's. Did you see any McDonald's or Burger King's shutting down with all these meat shortages?
Yeah, I saw that. It's like,
KFC's.
okay, gee, what a surprise. Like, how much meat is actually in those burgers anyway that you need to shut down over it?
But it's the mad fallacy. Then you look at the actual, like, what would you call it? The concept behind not consuming meat is like having a plant-based diet, a vegan diet, climate change. We're actually saving the planet by not doing that. Meat, cow farts are destroying planet Earth, and blah blah blah. All of these like false narratives, you know, this fucking Greta Thunberg bullshit. To make soy milk, apart from cow milk, like cow milk is probably not great for humans to be consuming anyway. How dare you?
Yeah,
You get
almond
that in
milk,
the soundbite. That was some weird.
nut milk.
How dare you? To make almond milk takes more water to fucking milk the almond out. It's like loads of water wastage to get that to come out of there, you know.
Oh yeah.
So way more than like cow's milk or whatever you're drinking, cat's milk, whatever the fuck you want. Like, I got nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? And just having some fucking you know, soy milk. Like soy is like destroying South America, like taking up all of this land. It depletes the fucking nutrients out of the land because it's such a nutrient heavy crop. So like whatever goes into the field after soy won't grow. They have to leave it fallow. So it's like how they're creating this new thing. It's the same as the petrodollar moving towards like electric cars, right? They know that there's a certain finite amount of time that you can operate this way, right? 0.06% of the population are farmers, and they're feeding everybody else, right? So for petroleum moving towards battery power, you're talking about like, oh, petroleum is really bad for the environment, and you know, crude oil spillages and fracking and, you know, extracting natural gas and processing crude oil and blah blah blah. It's really bad. And then the emissions and all that stuff, the carbon emissions and all, we're ruining the atmosphere and blah 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 blah. Okay, cool. What's the alternative? Batteries. All right. How the fuck do you get lithium out of the ground if not through strip mining? The same process, blowing up the fucking ground, the same shit as fracking, putting fucking lithium into the water table in the areas that you're mining it from. Huge gouges out of the earth to pull this shit out. Slave labor, fucking, you know, like Taliban whipping lads in the lithium mines. Like, come on, Joe Biden, pull out. Now you make battery. Come on. Like, we sell to China. Quick, hurry up. Like, it's no better for the environment than petroleum, but it's the cunts that own it because they know that the fucking Saudis and the OPEC nations have oil on lock, so they can't. It's an industry that they can't grow into. They can't grow anymore. There's no more fucking Texas oil, you know. And another thing, abiotic. Have you heard of the abiotic oil theory?
No.
So when you're in school, what were you taught? Now, this is obviously, we're going on tangents. I work my way back to what we were talking about, right?
That's how we do it.
Yeah, that's the only way I know how.
When you were in school, what were you told that oil was made out of?
Dinosaur bones.
Fossil bones.
And that is bullshit.
It's bullshit. It's made out of algae. It's made out of plants, like, right? People don't know that shit. And then in the 40s, the guys that were in charge in Germany, I don't want to get you dinged, so I'm not going to say, but the lads who were in charge in Germany in the 40s, right? Their scientists discovered that oil is actually not a finite resource, that it replenishes because the heat and the pressure in those tectonic movements, because it's not dinosaurs. Because if we say if oil is made out of dinosaurs and there's no more dinosaurs, when the oil is gone because there's no more dinosaurs to make any more oil. But algae can grow and be compressed and turn into oil very quickly. So all these oil reserves that are seemingly empty, the lads who were in charge in Germany went and started testing these other things. That's why they were going all over the world to try and test these things. They found out that stuff was replenishing. So there's actually oil like back in those pockets. It's the abiotic oil theory. But you're not allowed to talk about it on the internet because it's actually associated with the boys who are in charge in Germany. And it's considered like, I don't know, anti-Semitic or something. There's some reason that you're not allowed to talk about that theory, right? So,
but isn't it more than a theory, though? Haven't they actually done that, where they've gone to oil fields that have been untapped for 20 years, and they tap them and they filled back up?
Yes,
Hasn't
the
that
film.
been a thing we've done?
But that's the thing. So, like, why move away from that? Why create a narrative of, anthropogenic climate change, anthropogenic global warming? Like, it's not as if we haven't gone through this shit all before with Al Gore, and he's on his little cherry picker going, the water is going to be up to here, and everyone's like, it's 2002, it's an inconvenient truth, we're all going to drown our children and our very heavy laptop computers, right? Never happened, man. It never happened. You're full of shit, Al Gore. You were hilarious in a cameo on 30 Rock, I'll give you that, but other than that, you're a cunt, a lying cunt, and a cherry picker, right?
Yeah, it didn't
Why
take
did
long
we-
for South Park to call them out.
Yeah, why did we believe him? And then we believed him when we did loads of stuff and it didn't really change. But it's a fucking, again, like a great reset shit. It's a transfer of wealth away from the lads who are doing the fossil fuel thing, away from like the fucking J.R. Ewings and the Sheikh Almud Hassad Alami or whatever. These fucking OPEC nations have that shit on lock. And you can't beat them, so there's no growth in that industry. So what do? Destroy that industry through false information or market forces. Change the market forces. Put everybody against that. If there's no cars to consume that fucking that fuel source, the value of it goes down. If there's no cars being sold that use it as a fuel source because the people don't want to buy it because they've been propagandized and made feel guilty like they are the virus. Like these people, we are the problem with the planet. Even us breathing in and out is destroying the planet. Like that fucking guilt, that's fucking psychological abuse, man. That every breath you take, every move you make, you're a cunt. You're ruining the world. Every time you have a child, can you hear that fucking having a child? Having a child is the worst thing you can do for the planet. It causes the biggest carbon footprint of anything a human can do. Don't have children, tie your tubes, Roe v. Wade. You know, this kind of shit. They're making us feel like we are Mr. Anderson. You are the virus. Like when he's fucking peeling back, like the smell of it, Morpheus. You know, like we're being made feel like everything that's wrong with the planet is our collective fault. It actually sickens my shit pipe to look at an advertisement on a TV from a washing powder company, right? Like Persil. I don't know. Do you have Persil in the US?
I don't think so.
Like Tide, right? So to have Tide come on, and it's all like pictures of a glacier and like a well-fed polar bear and like an Inuit with a spear, like happy, smiling, like this kind of half Down syndrome-y looking. Hi, like real happy, right? And scans across and they're like, Persil cares about the planet. When you wash your clothes at 40 degrees, you're killing this Inuit and you're killing that polar bear because you're using energy. So what we've done is we've done some completely immeasurable changes to the chemical formula of our fully artificial and chemical gunge that you pour into your washing machine, by the way. But we've done some magical science stuff to make it easier for you to wash at a lower temperature and therefore save this polar bear and not be a cunt. So if you're a cunt, buy a different type of washing powder. But if you don't want to be a cunt, buy our one and wash your clothes 10 degrees lower, which, I mean, totally obviously is going to save the planet. Don't be a cunt, buy Persil. And I'm looking at that going, that gives me fucking hot diarrhea farts of anger to go like, how emotionally manipulatable are people that they're going to go into the supermarket and go, well, I don't want to be a cunt that kills polar bears and Inuits, so I'm going to buy Persil and wash my clothes at 30. And then they're going to have stinky clothes because they're not washing proper. Like, how can that company use the guilt of climate change to sell their fucking... Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how commercialized this thing has gone. So, like, if we're going to not buy gas-powered cars and we're all going to go electric, like, that's purely a market forces change using propaganda to manipulate the customers into buying something different, to take the power away from the guys that own the petroleum, which is what the fucking Chinese are using with Iran to boost the yuan to have a better economy than the American dollar. So the American dollar is now going to move towards non-performing petroleum-based power sources. Like all of that stuff is all interlinked, and then we're buying personal and thinking that we're fucking class. Do you know?
Yeah.
I'm going mental. Am I going mental on this? I took 2 Alpha Brain, and I feel like I'm fucking like, and then, and you guys are like, fuck, shit. What the fuck?
No, we
riveted.
totally agree. We talk about
No,
it
I'm
all
just
the
listening.
time with the commercials, especially. We talk about how ridiculous it is, how the media will spin something one way, and we see people go like, "Oh God, this is how it is," and then the commercials just completely capitalize on it, whatever market it is, and you just see it across because we watch Hulu and stuff, and we see it across whatever commercial we happen to have on, and we're like, "Oh my God!" Joe started muting the commercials. He's like, "Fuck this! I'm not even going to
Just
listen to
hate
your
fucking
bullshit."
listening to him. Like, stop. I don't care
We're
about
not
your
going to
shit.
pay the $5 to not have the commercials, okay?
Yeah.
But we're going to mute them.
it's sitting in your subconscious though. When you listen to that shit, it is affecting people. Like looking at Greta Thunberg's little pinched butthole face, and like, how dare you? And you know, like she's a total actor. Like her dad's part of Antifa. Like it's a total fabricate. But nobody looks into that shit. Nobody actually looks into the science behind any of this stuff. Like anthropogenic climate change is a manufacturing and marketing lie. And you look at, like, if anyone's ever read like Bernays, like Edward Bernays, like that shit is 100 years old and it's still being used today verbatim, and it still works like 100% effective. And people, and that book,
propaganda.
yeah, that book is 100 years old, and people are still using it verbatim. They haven't even changed it. It's just like they apply it just to the internet instead, and it still works because it's
Even
people.
better.
Even better because we have it in our fucking. Everyone has an individualized feed now, which is fucking Bernays. He'd fucking pull his cock off with delight about having that if he could even have imagined some sort of a thing where we. Oh my God, we will personalize everybody's feed. Yeah,
that might be the title of this episode: "Pulling his cock off with delight." I mean,
Yeah.
that's an Irish saying. That I mean, I don't assume it's an Irish saying. It just sounds like maybe it's because he said it in an Irish accent. Anyway,
it was between that or he'd squeeze his dick with happiness, and the top of his knob would pop off like a champagne cork. It was one or the other. Just being
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a celebration. You know, so I just think it's fucking crazy that these methods still work, and that people still buy that shit. They still swallow it deep. And that those Al Gore lies, I knew that man when I was fucking 17 or 18, watching that cunt going up in the cherry picker. I was like, this guy's fucking full of shit. And he said we'll all be underwater by 2012. Like feeding into the Mayan disaster, you know, motif, and then that pass was like we make fun of fucking cults like Marshall Applewhite, and you know, these guys are like wearing the Nikes and eating the fucking cyanide applesauce or whatever. We're like, these guys are crazy. These guys were unhinged cult leaders. So what were they saying? Well, they were making unfounded claims about the end of the world and the end of humanity. And then they ended up stressing people out so much that they ended up like changing their whole lifestyle. And some of them even committed suicide because of stress. Like, so Al Gore?
Yeah.
Do you know? Like,
Fauci? Oh.
shit. He's the fucking like Marshall. He's as bad as Marshall Applewhite or Jim Jones. Like spreading fucking fear propaganda to make people behave in a certain way. And he got millions of dollars. Millions and millions of dollars he made. Do you know?
Yeah, that's fucking nuts. So
did you ever hear the shit of go ahead, Joe.
Oh no, I was gonna switch gears real quick. You'd say what you're gonna say.
It was kind of a little gear switch too, but about Marshall Applewhite or whatever. Did you guys ever hear that shit about the Farsight Institute? That guy that remote views, he's really bizarre. All of his remote viewers are like young women it's a weird thing, but they're remote viewing all these different things, right? Well, before Heaven's Gate happened and everybody died and he cut his dick off and all that kind of crazy shit in the cult, this guy remote viewed, and everybody in the alternative community back in the late 80s, early 90s would know about this guy, and he was telling everybody, oh, there's a spaceship behind the Hale-Bopp comet. We remote viewed, we found it and everything. And then Heaven's Gate started to happen. So a lot of people attribute this guy to the demise of all those people. And I think he has defended himself at some point. I don't know. Maybe he's been silent. I don't know. But it's an interesting little, I don't know.
I'm looking at farsight.org right now, and that shit looks wild.
assistants with the girl that was like a super skinny black girl in like spandex, like they all wore like weird outfits.
Yep, they're all very similar looking, and he's like, "This is my new assistant." Like, where's the other one? Very creepy. He's been doing it for a long time. Now, I'm not saying yes or no to like remote viewing and all that is, real or not. I would lean towards all that kind of stuff being real, but it's just hijacked by assholes or the elite. It's not that they really present anything that's necessarily fake. Their schemes are, but when they get a hold of this kind of stuff, it's like, well, we got to spin this in a way that will work to our advantage, because this is the kind of shit that like we don't want them getting a hold of in like a pure form,
Like they're trying to poison the well so that the regular folks can't get their hands on that type of power, so they make it seem like cultish and weird and
just like history.
socially
Everything
unacceptable.
heathen is evil and dark and satanic, right?
Yeah. But that's what Satan would say. It's like, yeah, they're saying I'm bad, but I'm not bad. I'm cool. Just try it, suck it and see, kind of thing. just let me put the tip in for a second to see how it feels. You like it, you really will. Yeah, I don't know, man. We're fighting weird dark forces. I don't think it's like, satanic or evil, or I don't think it's like, it's not.
It's human, right?
Yeah. Is this the gear change? Are we getting into this? I don't want to fucking start by going
Joe,
off onto a
where are
mad
you
one.
gonna take it?
Joe, you're
Whatever Alpha Brain's telling you to do, just
Yeah.
roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, okay. Like, what do you guys think about aliens?
I think Ancient Aliens is full of shit, and it's all human stories, and it takes away from our ingenuity and our power. I don't think about that all the time or anything.
All right.
Yeah.
Go, Jen. What's up?
You had that right teed up, dude.
Yeah. He was like,
It's on the forefront.
I don't really know. I think there's so many ways to think about aliens, because you have the interdimensional aspect, then you have the flat earthers that say they come from maybe beyond the ice wall or whatever. They come from different planets, or I don't fucking know. I know people see stuff. I've seen a UFO with Jen, actually. Like, we've seen it, but
It was probably
It's
military.
probably
It was on the
military,
4th of
yeah.
July last year at midnight, and it was
that-
camouflaged. It was a cloaked thing, but it was definitely, I think, put there like a test so they could test. And if anyone reported seeing shit, they'd be like, "It's fireworks. It was the 4th of July. Stupid.
Right.
You were drunk for sure."
It's just, it doesn't discount like all these other stories. There's fucking
No.
decades of stories
Yeah.
about people having interactions or seeing
The
I don't really
likelihood of
know.
being alone in the universe, I think, is slim. I think there's possibly stuff out there. I'm not saying they're all around us all the time. I have no clue. I think whatever is released by the media is bullshit. So really not.
And that's what
much,
makes me
you know?
sketched out about aliens now, is that it's coming into vogue in the media and they're starting to like acknowledge this shit. Then I'm like, what?
It's definitely something else.
So what do you think,
Yeah,
Gordo?
so
You
what's
asked
what's the next step then if they're saying like UFOs are totally real? Sorry, we lied to you for 70 years. Like, that should be the end of that organization.
Yeah.
Right.
If they go like, we've lied to you for 70 years.
No,
Why-
everybody's
why-
loving it.
Why'd you do that? It was for your own good. What? How can you
Everything
tell
else
me? Do you know what I mean? Like, how betrayed did we all feel about finding out about Santa Claus? Do you know, as kids? Like, that trauma. That's everybody's first conspiracy theory. Like that, and you're like, what? This is what? Like, your brain is developing at that time into like finding out about justice and fairness and these kind of things. And you found out that the people that you trust most in the world have been like lying to you. Not only lying to you, but like that the whole media organization, like all the fucking Santa Claus movies, all the, the fake news reports. It's like, and from NORAD, we have a report. Hello, happy Christmas. From NORAD, we have a report of the sleigh. It's passing over Beijing, China, where they don't even believe in Santa Claus anyway. And here's the NORAD map. You can follow it on your app if you download the app to your phone, that we won't scan all of your emails and text messages so you can lie to your children about where Santa Claus is in the fucking sky or whatever. But like, imagine being a child and seeing every arm of every piece of media. Your parents, your friends' parents, your older siblings have to be like, fuck, I can't do that. Everybody you trust in the whole world, all the advertising, all the mainstream movies, TV shows, there's Christmas specials on every fucking telly. Holidays are coming, and then a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, if you're, you know, a weird Amish kid or whatever, you know, from some Warren Jeffs, you know what I mean? Some girl in a gingham dress is like 19. She's like, I'm waiting for Santa Claus. But like whatever age you are when you find it out, like the veil is removed. Like that's some kind of fucking Mazel Tov. You're not. That's the white westernized version of you know, a tribal kid in Africa being handed a spear and pushed out of the hut out into the Serengeti and go, look, okay, you had to go out of this house and come back in 2 weeks with the head of a lion, or you are not a man and you are not allowed into the village anymore. And you're like, what? And it's like, just here's a stick with a knife tied to it. Go kill a fucking thing. And if you don't do it, don't come back. And you're like, what? That's how they become a man. How we become a man is the veil of Santa Claus is pulled down, and we find out that every media organization, every person we love and trust has lied to us. And then we just have to accept it and move on. And not only that, but perpetuate the lie to the younger generation to not ruin the mystery for them, instead of just going, yeah, look, it's all bullshit. They've done that with UFOs, and we've all just went, okay, we won't get mad. Everything that we've been told, it's all bullshit, it's all lies. Or making fucking Independence Day and shit like that, making fun of us, like, and then they know it was real. Like, think of all the movies and TV shows that have had you know, UFOs as the crazy, you know, the crazy guy that believes in UFOs, and now they're totally like, oh yeah, no, they're totally real, actually, sorry about that. And we did nothing about it.
Yeah,
we did nothing about it. We didn't say, well, you guys all have to be fired now. You guys all have to like leave your jobs, and you're not allowed to talk to the public about stuff anymore. Because, like, if it was a politician that was like, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, and he got fucking impeached because he lied about a blowjob. These cunts lied for 70 years about, you know, interdimensional extraterrestrial craft, experimental fucking aircraft, and we didn't do anything about it. And we still haven't done anything about it. And they all still have their jobs, and they also have their reputations. It seems crazy to me that we're not doing anything about it. But again, the apathy, the demoralization, we know they're listening. All the phones are turned on all the time. All the Alexas, all the Siris, all the fucking laptop cameras, and we don't do anything about it. Do you know?
Yeah. No, we use it right now.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, and as if they're not listening. We fucking hit about 9,000 trigger words. Like, you're on a fucking. All of us are on lists. 100%. We're all on lists. Do you know what I mean? And then we just go, yeah.
I'm not worried about that. Yeah,
yeah, fuck it. But like, you know, there's one CIA guy watching live on Rokfin now. He's got like he pays for the Rokfin subscription from his work credit card or something like that. You know, yeah. I wonder at the end of the year for all the agents, because there's like thousands of them cunts like working for subsidiaries that are affiliated with the CIA. I wonder, like, at the end of the year, how much money Rokfin gets from subscriptions from CIA agents that are tasked to watch all these live shows. They're like in the boardroom meeting, going like, so what's the bottom line on Rokfin? How many subscriptions do we have to pay for? It's like, me and Johnson have been sharing passwords, sir. Good man. It's 50% less expenditure from you guys. Well done. You guys should take a leaf out of Johnson's book. Share your passwords. But
how many farts did Joe play on Legit Bat today?
I wonder how many times they laughed.
Yeah.
But you know, like I joke, but there was actually guys like from the CIA that were tasked to watch and listen and take notes on every single one of Joe Rogan's podcasts. You know that, right? There was like an NSA,
like early on,
and no, like from the very start up till now, that it was his job to sit and listen and take notes on everything that was ever said and make reports back, and like all the guests that he had, all the things that they talked about, everything that was mentioned. NSA agent, Joe Rogan.
I feel like now they just watch him to make sure he's doing the job that they want him to do.
Yeah, it came out there when he was trying to get kicked off of Spotify or something like that, and the people that were trying to get him off, they had a list of all the guests and all the things, all the dodgy shit that they said. Remember when that like N-word compilation all came out, and it was him doing like, they had that shit. They tried to release it in 2017 or something like that, and it didn't get traction, so they couldn't cancel him then. People didn't care then, but they just re-released it right at the moment that some shit went down, and tried to use like
these people.
You what?
I said timing is everything with these people.
But that's the thing. Like, they had somebody that was taking notes on every single episode, going at like hour 1 minute 36 second 24. He said this and this and this about such and such a person, and it's all put into a database. So if anything happens in the news, they're like, "Quick, Joe Rogan said that." Type it into the database. It brings up the search thing of the transcripts of the podcast, and they put like they had a fucking government agent. That was his job, was to listen to Joe Rogan and take notes.
Wow.
Imagine, like,
And that's just on Rogan. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, they're listening to all of these motherfuckers. Like,
they're definitely listening to you. I know that.
Oh yeah, for sure. For 6 hours, the poor cunt is like, "Oh man, am I on those conspiracy guys' duty? Shit, man, it's too many, too many."
Can I get reassigned, please? Can I get reassigned to Legit Bat? They do hour shows.
Yeah, have we gone over the limit? I don't know, man. When we were starting this show out, I was like, "What do you want to talk about?" And you were like, "Ah, whatever you want." I just double dropped some alpha brain and went like fucking crazy frog, you know.
Dude, I wouldn't have
Pretty
invited you
normal for our
on if I
show.
didn't listen to your show and know how you guys go. And you guys do way more research, but it's kind of the same, like just conversational style. So that's all we wanted.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
know
very-
we
it's
can
very-
go over the limit, but I know it's very late where you are.
Oh no, I'm good to go, man. I'm alpha brained up the fuck, like whatever. You know, keep going. But it's just do you know when you get talking to somebody, like I've ruined so many dinner parties, like you end up me and my partner Claire, we go over to people's houses, you know, and we had the bottle of wine under one arm and the fucking, you know, the potato salad under the other arm, and she rings the doorbell, and just before someone answers the door, she just leans over and goes, "No talking about the pedophile elite now tonight, okay, please." And I'm like, "Oh," it's like, "Stop, don't, no." We had now, I'm not joking, we actually had it because she's like, "No pee tonight now, okay?" And I'm like, "Okay, no pee." Like, no pee. And then like 40 minutes later, she's looking at me, and I'm over in the corner with 3 other men going, and do you ever hear about frazzle drip? Did you ever hear about this shit? And the lads are all around me, and she's like, "Gordo, what are you talking about?" Like, "Football." I don't like sports, like, you know. Well, soccer. I'm talking about football. It's there all the time, like that shit, and people are intrigued, and you know, there's like, "What do you do?" "Oh, I'm an accountant." Like, "What do you do?" "Oh, I work in a factory." "What do you do?" "I'm a conspiracy theory podcaster." And in the last 3 years, they're like, "What?" And I'm like, yeah, I mean, we're doing pretty well, like 45 million downloads, career downloads, and you know, a couple of 100,000 subscribers. Like, yeah, it's not too bad. It's like, "Yeah, so what do you think about this?" They're like, I had to build in a phrase into my social vocabulary, which is like, "Are you just asking to be polite, or do you actually want the answer?" That's what I had to start saying to people, because like I'd start talking, like you're like, "How are you doing?" "I'm fine." "So listen, Bill Clinton and the whole kind of the Arkansas thing, like Barry Seal. You ever heard about Barry Seal? So the aliens, right? They're interdimensional." And you're like, "Yeah, that's okay. Yeah. And 20 minutes later, I'm still
They
like,
leave.
and then like the fucking dude.
So you're not well.
Like,
Okay, thanks.
yeah. How's your mental state? Rocky. It's rocky.
Ups and downs.
For people, you can't lead with interdimensional aliens. You got to see where they're at first, you know.
See, I like
Before
fucking
you go
with
into-
people and starting with that. Just gauge my audience.
We have a good group of friends where they're all on the same page as us, though. So it's really
That's
easy.
a beautiful
We can all
thing.
sit around
That's
and
the
talk
thing.
about all that stuff together, and it's no big deal. But
You need people around you that you can talk with that shorthand. If you have to start from level 1 with everybody, you're not going to be comfortable. You're not going to get better in your own concepts and thoughts, because you're spending a lot of time like teaching and bringing it up to your level, and then you're like, when they're up at your level, you're like, right now we can actually have a conversation to get to, like, unless you're one of these people that wants to just repeat the things that you know, and there are a few of those people. But like, I like think about stuff and changing as I go along. Like, you hear me from 6-7 years ago, and I'm like, this, and now I'm coming in and I'm saying, well, actually this. And the people who are fans from years ago are like, "You used to be cool, man. You changed. You're not cool anymore because you don't believe that thing." And I was like, "Do you still believe that thing? Then you're not correct then."
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with changing your mind when presented with new information. I don't know why people have such a big deal with that. They're like, "Oh, you're changing your mind." Yeah, I found out something new about this, so I changed my mind. Like that.
It's evolution.
I'm always ready to change my mind.
That's allowed. Yeah.
Yeah, I found myself like showing my mom stuff, like, "Mom, look at this," and she'd be like, "Ah," and then I'd be like, "Now get your head around the fact that that's probably not even real." It's just like, you gotta like take them one place, and then, you know, it's a whole setup.
This is payback for Santa Claus, bitch.
Yes, seriously. Oh, and I have a 4.5-year-old child, and like the whole talk about Santa Claus, like, yeah, it's like a big gulp in my throat, because it's like, I've done this to him too. You know,
Yeah.
we've done this to him. And it's like the only justification I can fathom in my head is like, well, he'll know what I'm going through, or he'll know what the world is, and he'll have a parent telling him about it. Like I always say that, like, you got the Santa Claus thing. It's like the rug gets ripped out from underneath you. At least maybe parents like us could be more of a pillow after they fall. Like it could be a lesson. Like, yeah, this was a lesson in how fucked up the world is. I mean, if you have to spin it that way, you know.
The day
That's-
that you
that's
tell your
exactly how I
child,
feel.
the day you tell your child the truth about Santa Claus, sit him down and watch the Oliver Stone movie JFK on the same day and go, this is what's actually happening. There is no Santa Claus, and also Joe Pesci plays David
Pressure's
Bowie.
off me.
Yeah,
Pressure's off me.
yeah. They're gonna fucking kill me. They're gonna kill me. Come on, Garrison. Come over here. Like, gotta watch that shit. Watch what you gotta watch. Yeah, Oliver Stone JFK, or watch fucking Zeitgeist or something like that. You know, like some kind of the first Zeitgeist. You're like,
Loose
listen,
change.
Santa's not real. You know, I bought all those presents, so like, I mean, you don't owe me or anything, but like, you know, like, fucking take it easy this Christmas. And also, here's Zeitgeist to ruin your fucking. But I think the earlier we start, like, a lot of kids are finding that stuff now, you know, with the likes of TikTok, with the likes of you know, the interwebs available at everyone's fingertips. Any piece of information ever, all you have to do is say the keyword and they can go looking it up. Now, it does end up being hard to decipher, you know, what's real from fake news. Okay, the kids, they're looking up the news, they're finding information. You can find stuff that's going to fucking confirm whatever bias you have, you know. But it's I think it's important that this next generation end up not being as what would you call it, like not cooperative, but not as fucking not capitulate to this you know. Yeah, we all have smartphones, and they're viewing everything we've ever done, and that's totally fine because they're being born into that shit. Like, we had a time, like, we're all in our 30s. Like, we had the time when we were like, okay, mom, we're going out. And when we were out, we were like in this kind of quantum realm for our parents of being both dead and alive. Like, we could have been, you know, over at Johnny's house playing SNES, or we could be in the back of a van, like, being transported to a fucking a container that's buried under the ground, that we're strapped into a dentist's chair and fucking sexually experimented on by a lunatic. Like, it was either or. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's like you fucking LoJack your kids, and you know everything that they're looking at online, which means that you can control the information that goes into them. By and large, they're getting very heavily conditioned by you know, common culture, TV shows, you know, social media, things that are being acceptable. Like, do you remember when you were young, like, having any kind of fucking political affiliations or any kind of a political agenda being espoused upon you? Like, everyone was like, gay, retard, faggot, you know, it was all this kind of chat, like, and nobody ever talked about any. It's like, dude, that's gay. It's like, what's gay? Those pants, they're like they're X-Works jeans. Like, fucking, what are you, some kind of bender? And you're like, and now if you say that, you get kicked out of school. Like, it just, there's such a heavy weight of culture, such a heavy weight of responsibility on people who are 10, 12
less
years
childhood
age.
Less childhood, more and more and more.
So, like, we have to make it so that they're able to fully express themselves, or fully, you know, fully be allowed to experiment with the thoughts that they have, rather than being like 1984 into like a conceptual or cultural cul-de-sac where they're only allowed to think these four things. Like, that's how you end up in some kind of weird, like, Aldous Huxley world of, like, you know, you can be anything that you want, Billy. And now it's like, you can be four things, you know, because you're white and you're straight, so you're not allowed to have these types of jobs or whatever. There's a responsibility on us as the people who are kind of taking over the reign. Like, Generation X are, like, boomers are fucked. They're done. Generation X are the guys that are now in their 50s and 60s who are running the gaff. In the next 20 years, it's going to be us. Like, we're the late millennials, and we're going to end up running the place, where we're going to have a workforce of Generation Z who are voluntarily sterilizing themselves while also simultaneously creating hardcore porn for pennies on the dollar of themselves, right? They've commodified their own bodies in like a sexual way while also being like super compartmentalized about sexuality, gender, mental health issues. Suicide is a joke. Completely like demoralized as humans, and they're the workforce that are going to end up having to procreate nobody, so that when we're in our later age, there's like 30% of the amount of people that should be on the planet coming into the next generation, because none of the next motherfuckers had any kids. So like industry falls apart, everything becomes automated, education becomes less and less important, because what jobs are there if there's no jobs, you don't need any education. So it's like Jen's doing a lassie. What's happening? What is it, girl?
We just heard something banging out there. I think it's
it
is it
just
the tree
sounds
or
like
something?
something smacking into the house. Sorry.
It's interdimensional demons, probably.
You're not getting
Oh, the
swatted. You're not
chicken
getting
thing
spotted like
started.
Tim Pool, are you? Am I talking about some shit and somebody's after swatting you now? What happened?
I was trying to see if I could see the chickens or something outside the window. Sorry.
Okay.
So
You were like,
It was like, I don't know if that was
oh shit.
Yeah.
Was it followed by police? Get down! Wasn't it?
Right. Nope, not today.
So the next generation are demoralized as fuck. Like they're being convinced into like getting voluntarily sterilized. Like what hope is there for humanity if there's going to be no people?
Yeah.
So it's kind of our responsibility to teach them about the history before it gets deleted, and it's being actively deleted. Like I'm researching. So for my show, like I have these topics out for years at a time. Like it's all very, very far. Like I have like 10 years worth of stuff all in seasons, all planned out. And I've been like, when you're looking through different books and you're looking through different, like I'm on the fucking college websites, downloading like papers and downloading all these kind of documents and stuff like that. And then just looking through like the general web, pulling down documents from Reddit and saving them and stuff like that. So I go to like research an episode from a couple of months ago, say like, I don't know, Project Bluebeam, about the Surgeman asked and the fake alien invasion. You heard about this shit?
Mm.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So Bluebeam is really huge now at the moment, because they're like, yeah, there's totally aliens. And
Right.
I went to look up. I had like 200 or 300 fucking bookmarks all saved. More than half of them don't work anymore, and they were all like, UFO sighted in such and such a place, and there was pictures and all this stuff. So I had this app that saves a snapshot of the website. So I click the URL to go into the live website page. It's like, 404. So I go into the saved version, and I'm like, oh, so the images are there and the stuff is there. So it's all there for me, but it's gone off the internet. And that happens for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of links of the stuff that I've saved in doing the research ahead of time, for all of these different topics. So why is all that stuff being deleted off the internet? Like history, this is like the burning of the libraries at Alexandria, but in a digital version,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the responsibility to keep that stuff alive through, I guess, the most ancient of human endeavors, which is through like verbal storytelling. This is what the Celts of old is like, telling stuff in myths and legend and making up these things that these parables and Aesop's fables and all these things that last the test of time, generationally, through barriers of language, through barriers of culture. These universal human truths like endure, and they travel across culture and travel across nations to become stories that people are like, oh yeah, man, the fucking lion with the paw and the thing with the thorns, because we know that this is a thing that we need to understand as humans, like compassion and blah blah blah, or like the boy who cried wolf. Like you tell these stories again and again because they're things that humans need to know at a core level, And then could be a cynical cunt and you come along and go, the boy who cried wolf, what's that about? Oh, you're not supposed to tell lies. It's like, no. Just don't tell the same lie twice. That's what it is. If you lie to, you get caught, So like, I think the next generation needs a lot of compassion. Like, and we as the late millennials are doing what we're doing, having these shows and stuff for them to come back and listen to. But like, I really feel, it sounds really condescending now, but I kind of feel a bit sorry for some of the younger people coming up, because it feels like they're not even trying. Like, what do you think about that? Do you feel that they're that they're just
Yeah,
happy
but
to be.
I think it's a product of being our kids though too, because like you were saying, like we kind of grew up apathetic, or at least we're very apathetic now. What are you going to expect our kids to be? Probably double that, or sometimes they go the other direction and they care more about it. Like, who fucking knows? Andy, you have kids, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we do our best, and I think we try to be as honest as we can with them, of course, other than Santa Claus. But I mean, yeah, I think it's going to come down to parenting, and of course, what are they getting? Like, how educated are all of us as parents? It's maybe someone that's awake, quote unquote, or people like us. Maybe we have a little bit more to offer kids, but maybe we don't, because some of us are fucked up because of this shit. So
Yeah.
it really it's a balancing act no matter what. But I do agree with it, pretty much everything you're saying about the chances they have in society now. It's that's why we're homeschooling, and we're this and we're that, and we're trying to get a ton of land. And the pressure is not only coming from people in our lives, but also the programming in us. Like, oh, is he going to be too lonely, or is he going to be weird, or this? All those stupid things just flooding in, when it's like, well, I mean, life is about to change, I think, at some point for a lot of people. And
In what
I don't
way?
know. I mean, to me, it seems like, the food shortages and all that shit, the economy and all of that, it's looking like Mad Max sooner than later. It's like, how long before it's all falling apart anyway? This idea of socialization, which is more than not just indoctrination for the most part to other people's fucked up kids that they're fucking up out in public. Like, I don't know. I see it the way you see it, but I also think that there's hope in some good parents out there, and we'll see what happens. But I don't know. It is very fucking grim for everywhere I look, everywhere I want to take my kid. There's always you have to look out for everything. And it's getting ridiculous. I don't even want to take part in it anymore,
Or even to park them in front of the TV now. It's almost like a,
Yeah. That's
you can't
dangerous, too.
even watch TV without them coming away with some message that you hadn't really counted on them engaging with.
Yeah, I heard something about
It's
like
really weird.
7 to 8 seconds is the maximum of like seconds that one scene will be on in a cartoon.
Oh, Coco
something
Melon.
like that.
That's the Coco Melon conundrum. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's
I
why
was
it's so
starting to do
popular.
it with other shows that my son was watching, and it's pretty much like that across the board until you get into, like kids creating their own content, which is a fucking horrible thing in its own self. It's like, again, it's this removal of childhood, and no one's an adult and everyone's an adult, and none of these things are existing anymore. It's like there is no childhood anymore, but it's just giant children that haven't grown up. And these kids are like 7 years old on YouTube Kids, making their own videos and everything. It's just, oh man, it's just training. It's this celebrity star lifestyle that we've been talking about in our age group since social media started to exist. Like, oh, everybody gives a shit what you eat now. Like, that's old hat now, and it's being continuously pushed into the future somehow.
It's validation that people are seeking. I think more so because they're not getting it from genuine experiences in life. They're not getting it from the connection between each other. They're valuing each other based on how much subscribers they have rather than the content. They're being valued by how many subscribers they have rather than the content of their character. I have a dream.
Yeah, the content they're putting out is retarded shit. Like, look at me opening this new toy, or look at me playing video games, or watch somebody else playing video games and me commenting on it. My kid watches that. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, just play the game yourself.
It's
like
living
Inception.
vicariously. Yeah.
He's playing a game himself that's different than the game he's watching a reaction video to on YouTube, which is fine. He's multitasking at least.
I guess it makes it sound like old people ragging on them for that shit, but I'm like, dude, seriously, like you're.
I feel like my daughter was lucky though, in a way. So she's 16. She's exposed to the shittiest of shit. She thinks suicide is a way to get a trophy and have a show made after you, but also she had a life because tablets didn't exist when she was a baby. It was 16 years ago. Tablets were like $200 and I was the waitress. So nope, no tablet for you. So I didn't even have a cell phone, I don't think, when she was born, because they weren't made yet. So she didn't have any of that shit. So she played outside and learned to ride a bike and did all of that stuff until all of that technology came about when she was about 10. And then that's when she was exposed to it. But she at least got a little glimpse of what it's like to be a child before she had technology shoved in her face. So she's still into it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like my kid plays outside every day. No, she's 16. She watches TV. She goes to work though. She has a job and she works 40 hours a week and she's 16. So,
Damn.
I mean, she has work ethic. She's saving for a car. She's a lifeguard and it's summertime. So she's just working. She picks up double shifts. She takes my car. She just got her license. And I said, I'm not paying for your gas because you work 14 miles away from our house and gas is $7 in California. So she puts all the gas in the car and she drives wherever she wants. I let her go to her friends' houses. She lets me know and she has a curfew, but she pays for all the gas. She doesn't ask for shit from me anymore.
At the moment, that's probably the most admirable thing I've heard out of a 16-year-old ever. Like, wow, you can afford to drive 14 miles. Damn, you must be doing good, girl. Like, it's a lot of fucking. That's
That or it's
loose
not
with an
anything
arrow.
at all. I told her I'm not doing anything because she just has a huge attitude. She's 16. She thinks she runs the fucking world and this house, apparently. So I'm like, well, you don't. So I'm not doing anything extra for you. I'll provide necessities. Like I'll give you food and love and, you know, clothes if you need them and they rip. But if you want extra clothes or you want, you know, I buy you 3 bathing suits and you found a really cute one, you can buy that one too. And if you blow through your makeup in a week, you can buy that as well. If you want to go to the movies, enjoy paying for that. You have a job and a license and you're taking my car. So, and she does it. I didn't say it in that shitty of a way, but she did not like it at all either. She was not a fan. She was like, what?
Yeah, but
so
but you're giving her the freedom to do it rather than going like you're not allowed to do any of that stuff. Why? Because we can't afford it. It's like, well, if you can fucking find the money somewhere, work away. But then, I mean, I'm not saying this about your daughter, but like, if, there's other people doing that and saying, right, get the money somewhere, and they're like, okay.
Yeah.
They're on the apps, man, selling fucking pictures of their feet to weird Finnish dudes, like, and jerking off to, like, you know. So you get the money. Something like gas is expensive. Click, like fucking getting that fucking like getting the hand mirror on a long handle and just getting right under there to get the fucking. Do you know what I mean? Like
doing weird shit. I hope that I have raised her better than that, but
sounds like it.
She doesn't like. She's super self-conscious. She's very pretty. I think people would probably pay for her feet. So I hope she stays self-conscious.
This is what I'm saying. Like how easy of it is to like if everything everywhere is telling you that it's a totally fine thing to do and sex work is real work and it's all good and it's fine. It's like, but most of those people who are telling you all that stuff just want to see pictures of your vagina. So they're like, it's totally fine. Like everything's fine. Just send the pictures. Like that's what groomers say. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Everyone does it. In fact, you're not cool if you don't do it. And you can also make a bunch of money. And then it was like loads of fucking articles about like OnlyFans millionaire. She doesn't even have to show her nipples. It was just like feet pics or whatever. And people are going, geez, you know what? I mean, I could take pictures of my feet. Like it's not. And then the next step and the next step and the next step. And then you're into some weird motherfuckers who are like, perfect. And there's no Chris Hansen coming around the fucking kitchen island to go like, you want to sit down there, sir? Like there's none of that. Like just Chris Hansen can't come into the app. It's you and a motherfucker and $6.99 a month. And like, I know I'm ragging on OnlyFans really heavily, but it's like, that's to me is the high tide mark of our modern culture, which is like, how are young people able to permanently debase themselves online, not realizing the ramifications of their actions? Like when we did weird shit when we were kids, it happened like one weird Saturday, 8 people were in the room, and like those 8 people, hopefully they'll die without ever telling anybody, or hopefully they're forgotten. Now it's like you do a weird thing and 40 million people see it, and the person who uploaded it get 800,000 likes and like 70,000 subscribers, and then they go and make a career of it, and that's their pinned fucking video of you taking a shit in a glass table at a house party because you fucking drank too much White Claw or some shit like that, you know. Like that shit is forever now. The pressure of that is immense. Like they're not fucking worried about, you know, money or how money is made. They're not worried about climate. They're not worried about it, but they're being made to fucking think that stuff. These are problems you have to worry about. Imagine being a 14-year-old at the start of the pandemic. So your formative years, your whole teenagerhood, you're being told that unless we make drastic changes to the planet, the world is going to be over in 12 years. That was the prevailing narrative coming from mainstream media. Can you imagine being 15 or 14 and being told, probably by the time you're 26, the world is going to be over? What fucking point is there to live?
That's how old my daughter was in 2020. So
What
she's
point is there for living if you think that? Do you know you're not going to bother getting a job or going to college? She's like, what's the point in going to college? I'll only get out of college and only have 3 years to live before Al Gore's flood will come, like the tidal wave from fucking The Day After Tomorrow. And Jake Gyllenhaal's running in the hall. I'm like, please, Jake, fuck me once when I'm 21. Like, I'd finally be able to be legally able to drink for a year, and then the world is over. Like, how despondent would that make you about your future? Like, that's fucking. You wouldn't want to have kids because you're like, well, I don't want to raise kids in such a violent, cruel world. Mad Max is just around the corner. I'm not having baby. Like, that's a way to fucking preemptively depopulate the planet. Is to make you think like if you have kids, they're going to be born into a horrible world.
You got to make it a better world for them.
But that's our responsibility. That's our
generation
has to do that. We have to now go
to give them that confidence that it's going to be okay, and to have confidence in themselves that when someone sees someone who says, oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's just your feet. Yeah, you can do that. Everyone's doing it. And by the way, if you don't do it, it's not cool. Like you were saying, Gordo, if we teach them that when you see something like that and you have that weird gut feeling, just stop there. Go away from that. That's gross. It's creepy. And we can't be there for every decision they're going to make and everything they're going to see. But we can give them those core values. Like, this is gross. It's gross to the core. And it's never going to be okay, no matter how many times someone tells you it's okay. And no matter how many people you know are fucking doing it. So you can go make your choices after that. But just know that is the truth.
To build that self-esteem, like that Cat Williams is saying, is like, it's called self-esteem because it's the esteem of your goddamn self. Like, you got to build that shit up in them, because you can't be, like you said, there's so many choices, like hundreds of choices they have to make on a daily basis about how to act and behave, what to say and who to be with, and you know what fucking decisions they're going to make about their future, or about their present more often than not. And if they're fucking working on a shoddy operating system, like, because there's no input from their generational peers on how to behave, because like, remember what it's like to be that age, like you're just gonna be like, oh my god, is everyone looking at me? I did these live shows in the UK. I did a UK tour there in March and April, and it was on the life and works of George Orwell, right? Because I was hearing a lot about like 1984. Everyone's talking about 1984 the whole time around George Orwell, and you know, it's a nice little kind of a dystopian concept. You know, everyone's being watched by Big Brother. Everyone's being controlled. The thought police are out here making us think and do stuff. Like, it seems very reminiscent of what we're living in now. And it was written in 1949, right? So obviously it feels like George Orwell was a prognosticator of culture, very accurate, that we're all now living in very much like a telescreen, you know, forced behavior, you know, policed speech, sweeping authoritarian rule, you know. Seems very Orwellian. It's a term that keeps getting thrown around. So my remit during the show was to reframe the term Orwellian, because he wasn't just right about that. He was right about so many other things. So I have like a smash together of the 3 different live shows. Remember the way Chris Rock did for his special, where it was like London, New York, and South Africa or something like that. So I have the best bits of each one smashed together. I'm going to release it on my feed soon. Nice. But I went through a load of the different writings that Orwell did. So like, one of the ones is like Road to Wigan Pier, because George Orwell actually, like, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and he just jettisoned away from that life, and he went to live with a bunch of poor people on the streets. Like, he lived homeless in London and Paris for 4 years. Like, he joined the Indian police, and he went and served as a policeman in India, and he saw the cruelty of the British Empire and the Indian people, and he ended up living with like drunks and drug addicts. He lived with like poor miners in Wigan, which is in the north of England, during the 30s, when things were fucking rough. Now I'm talking about like frontiersmen, like, you know, what's that computer game, the Oregon Trail or some shit like that. It's like, you've died of dysentery, like this kind of thing. That's what it was like living there. And he did these social examinations of how poor people, or how people with nothing, were able to placate themselves with what he called cheap palliatives, right? So like, no matter how bad the world is, you're going to be able to find something that'll fucking, you know, tickle your balls. and you'll have a nice day, even though you're poor, you've no money, you'll find some kind of pleasure somewhere, you know. So it was like looking through all of these different Orwellian phrases and concepts about the nature of humanity, which, like Bernays, was able to analyze, and these things don't change. They're the core values of humanity, right? And one of the quotes that I got out of the book, what's the name of the book now? It was a book of essays, politics and something culture. I can't remember the name of the book now. But one of the quotes was like, humanity, we think, will be afraid of everybody looking at us all the time. But what I think we will be more afraid of is if nobody is looking at us at all. Do you know? That's a really fucking fucked up non erudite way to describe that. But like the concept is like, you read 1984, you read, Brave New World, Aldous Huxley, you read these like dystopian, authoritarian, fantasy books, and you look around the world now and you go like, Jesus, it's actually happening. We're turning into this thing. It's Fahrenheit 451 meets Brave New World meets 1984, right? But he comes out and he says stuff like, we think it'd be a terrible thing for everybody to be looking at every move we make and everything we do all the time. We think that'd be a terrible thing, but in reality, it's what we fear the most, is that no one will be looking at us. Like, all these kids are growing up and you think it's a terrible thing, like the Snowden thing. We know that they're looking at us, but our whole culture is built on, what if they're not? How useless, how ineffectual, how uninteresting, how unattractive, how unwanted, how unloved am I, that nobody wants to listen to me, nobody wants to hear what I have to say, which is why everyone is producing content of them shouting into the void at all times. Everyone has a podcast, everyone has a YouTube channel, everyone's broadcasting themselves all the time. And he said, like, Orwell said towards the end, it's everybody is broadcasting all their thoughts all the time, and they don't actually have time to listen to anybody else's thoughts, that everyone's just talking all the time of what's going on in their head. They learn nothing and nobody advances. It's just everyone talking all the time at the same time. And like, it must be so hard to be a young person now at the moment to try and get past that level of attention. Like, I remember when we were younger, like, you'd wear a weird pair of pants and you'd be fucking made fun of for weeks. Like, you get a bad haircut and you have to wear that motherfucker for 6 weeks till it grows out, and you get a nickname and it lasts for 9 years. Like that shit used to happen. Now it's global, it's worldwide. You one thing wrong and you're that person. You're a meme forever and everybody knows you. You can't walk the streets. You do one fucking, one bad fail army worthy video, one fall, and you're famous. The pressure of that must be immense. So we have to protect those minds and fill them up with the information that we know, teach them about history. And I think the reason that they don't engage in that material, the reason that, to be honest, not a lot of young people are engaging with this conspiracy theory chat, because it's oil and water for them.
Yeah.
Their world is water and we're putting oil into it, and that shit will not mix. They're like, but if I accept that as a possibility, the whole purpose for all my existence dissolves. Like, if you tell me that, like, everybody's listening to me all the time, all the FBI and all the NSA are listening to me all the time, I don't care, because that's what I want. That's what's been installed in them as core values, is that everybody should be listening and looking at you because you're player one. You're main character in this motherfucker. Like, that's a crazy change from our generation to the next generation. That I think is like, that's part of the demoralization. That's part of the acceptance of the control mechanism, Like, they don't want to know the truth because it fucks with their follower count.
I hate to leave on such a low note instead of finishing out with you guys, but speaking of kids, I gotta go read some bedtime stories right now. So
no, we can wrap it up, dude. We'll wrap it up here, dude.
Thank you so much for having me with you guys. This was a really great chat. I loved hearing what you had to say, Gordo. It was great to see you.
Thanks for Listen, I'm sorry I talk so much now. I
No,
feel a
not
bit
at
bad.
all.
I'm like, oh shit, man, did I just melt all the lads? Like,
Oh,
No,
dude, that was
not
I'm
at all.
filling
It
us
amazing.
was
up.
great.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's something I
absolutely. It's
think about a
nice.
lot. Like I think about this all the time, and then I get to say it out in bits in each show when you have a concept, you have like a topic like
Yeah.
that's actually historically factual that triggers these conversations. That's what the show is. Like it's loads of tangents and talks about that, but this is something I'm really working on at the moment to try and figure out like what what's next. And
Mhm.
nobody knows it. Nobody knows what's next because we've never been here before. There's always been a time when, you know, you're like, oh, boom bust, there's a war, I will be fine because not everyone's in it. You know, Iraq, Afghanistan, fuck it. Osama, Saddam, sure, look, it's the same lads, fucking brown lad with a beard. But like now it's like, what's happening? What's next? You know, no food. We never had a global pandemic. Like the movies are starting to come true. Like, what's next?
That's a good question.
What's
Yeah,
next for
nobody
you,
knows
Andy?
enough.
Let's leave on something positive, because I can't let you go on like the world is fucked. Like I can't let that be the last thing for
Yeah, because
your
I
guys'
don't. I
show.
mean, I think it is fucked in a way, but I think you know, what's next for me is the next thing that's going to keep my focus and attention on something that's not fucked and that's keeping me going. But yeah, I've been thinking about what's next in terms of like, where does this community go? What do we do? I mean, we're all just yapping, and that's fine. I'm glad that more and more people are getting their own podcast, but I totally agree that it's like, yeah, more people talking, less people listening. Maybe I had it backwards all along, you know. But what's next for this community? What are we going to do next? And I think it may be of shutting this kind of stuff off more than anything else. Like I'm having trouble managing all the shit that I'm trying to do with podcasts because I'm doing more in my backyard. I'm just doing more with my family more often. It's becoming more important or more prioritized. You know what I mean?
Same. I'm producing less. I'm less like tied to the
Love
grind.
producing, but
No, I'm producing, but I'm not
yeah.
doing 2 7-hour shows and 2 4-hour shows 4 times a month. Which
Right.
is what
That's crazy.
I used to write 10,000 words and do a 7-hour show every 2 weeks. And in the off week,
Damn.
I do a 4-hour true crime show. And I do live shows and I do shit like this as well, like swap casts and guest appearances and shit like that. And then sometimes Claire be like, you coming to bed? I'm like, I'll be up in a minute. And then I used to work 2 jobs at the same time. So work a job from 9 to 6, another one from 7 to 10, and then at 11 o'clock I'd fucking jack into the Matrix till 4 in the morning down fucking conspiracy avenues. Like life is for living, you know.
Yeah.
That's what we're in at the moment. Family is fucking super important. I just had a baby. She's 80. Well, she's 80 months old now, but like that's the next shit. That's the next shit. Like,
yeah,
fucking perspectives change.
absolutely.
What's next for the lads here? What's next for John Jen? What's going on? What's
We
next?
just
Because
took
I
a
want
2.5 week break from this shit because we were like, you know what? We're not feeling it today. We don't mean to cancel on you, but we are busy. We have something we're doing, and it was all family stuff, and it was really fun. And I didn't miss podcasting. I love talking to people, though. I don't feel like we talk very little when we're doing a show. It's a back and forth usually, and we have people on who, like you, like know what you're talking about. So we
just
listen.
fucking wind the motherfucker up and just let him go. Like, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's nice.
That's what we
stuff,
did with
but
David Icke. We had David Icke on a little bit ago, and we just kind of like
I think we
do
said
your
2
thing,
words.
and he just
Yeah.
took it off. It's
It was
great.
fine though. But yeah, we're doing a lot of I mean, this is our first show in 2.5 weeks. I
know. I feel rusty.
I don't
as
even
fuck,
know
but
what's next. Are we still doing shows?
I don't
Is this
know.
our last show?
No, I don't know. We'll probably be doing less shows too. I think that everybody's kind of on that right now, just because we're all so uncertain about what's going on and trying to like be happy and do our thing, but also kind of, okay, yeah, shit's going on out there and whatever. Like, not to feel apathetic like everything else, but like literally, what can you do on a global scale? You can't fix the economy yourself. You can't. That's all just going to be what it is, and we'll adapt to that whenever that happens. Like, I hate to be the doom porn guy or anything, but shit's looking pretty bleak, but you can still be happy. Just go do something you like.
It's just going to happen though, and you have to ride it out, and how you perceive it is going to help your situation. I think if you're going to look at it like, oh no, this is going to suck, it's going to suck really bad. So you could not look at it like that and just see what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, look at it as like we're all in an adventure movie or all the movies we've loved growing up. We've been preparing, all right?
Marty, there's something got to be done about your kids, Marty. They're on OnlyFans. They're taking pictures of their feet, Marty. Doc, I don't mind. I'm okay. I'm okay with that, Doc.
We're doing a blood test. Tie them all up.
It's weird to talk about it with such fervor because I know, Andy, you got to go, man. It's weird to talk about it with such fervor because I think about this all the time, and I live out in the country, like I don't get to talk to many people who are on this level, and then the minute I do, I'm like, okay. If I I'm out of here, Peter lizards drinking the children's blood. Like it ends up getting weird quick. And like there's no kissing. It's just like fucking straight in, like just fucking Brokeback Mountain, like just lick your hand and just straight in. There's no fucking tickling or touching. It's just, so but I know you guys are on that level, like, and I it ends up being very negative, but I'm a super positive guy, really. Like I'm very hopeful, like the future is bright, and it's going to be filled with great people because, like, usually, don't prosper long term. Good people need to be out here fucking doing stuff, but I think the apathy and the burnout and the you guys are taking a break. It feels like burnout. It feels like kind of a small defeat. Like I'm not producing as much as I used to be, and just at that, like, self-measurement, I feel defeated. I feel like I'm losing. But by the same token, I'm raising a family. I'm spending time with the people that I love. I'm in therapy. I'm trying to get myself better. I'm trying to fix myself. Like you said, Andy, earlier on, like, we're all fucked up and we're passing on that fucked upness. I'm like, no, that shit stops with me.
Yeah, it stops here with the
that shit stops in my generation.
Generational trauma, no more.
No more. Never forget.
Yeah.
But like, I'm stopping that shit now, and I had to get a Holocaust joke in there. Yeah. And the 9/11 guys totally stole the Holocaust guys' tagline. Like, that's just such a copyright thing, isn't it? They were never forget. And then the 9/11 guys were like, yeah, that sounds good. We use that too. It's totally fine. Totally use that.
It's probably the same people behind it, right?
Yeah, mocking tongue.
But it's it's very hard to talk about this stuff and not sound despondent and dark and hopeless. But like, I'm actually full of hope. So don't get me wrong. The world like has been here and it will continue to be here. We just have to make sure that our contribution to it is positive and it's thought about. It's considered. If we just fucking sit back and let the world wash over us like a stone in a river, it'll just slowly erode us. We have to be, movable. Like Bruce Lee says, like, be like a water, take the shape of the fucking thing that we're in. And if we're able to do that and we don't fucking stand real still and cry about the old world and, like, reminisce about old cartoons that used to be on. Remember how good the Thundercats used to be? And then you watch the Thundercats and it's actually shit. It's terrible. He-Man used to be the coolest shit ever, and you remember it. And then when you watch it, it's a glorified advertisement. They bought the fucking toys from Japan and went, how can we sell this to stupid Americans? I know, let's make a cartoon about it. Like that, when you find out that shit, you're like, no, man, we got to do our own thing. And it's great to be on. Thanks for having me. I know you got to go.
Thank you so much. It was awesome.
We'll do this again.
This was awesome.
We'll for sure do it again.
Gordo, I'd love to have you on sometime too if you got.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
When we find time, right?
We get 6 hours and we do that shit.
Fuck yeah.
I'm able to go late. I'm able to go later, so we can do something. We can do something later, and
Cool.
I feel like you guys didn't talk so much, and I'm like, oh no, I did that thing that I do at dinner parties. I'm like, the pedophiles, like, but I know
it's okay. We all do it. We all do it though, so we're used to it.
We've done it before, but it was
like
great to hear your perspective, and I haven't heard that, so I just wanted to listen.
But when I mouth vomit, I actually like diarrhea. Like you were very articulate. I'm not. I'm just like, ah.
Yeah, and pressure moments with my father going, oh yeah, well, how is this true? I'm like, I don't remember, but it's real.
We're just trying to remember the guy's name. You're like, oh
yeah.
Hang on, you got to get your phone out. You're like, let me Google it real quick.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
That's what ruined Christmas.
Love you
Gordo,
all.
Thank you so much for coming. Andy, we love you
so much.
Peace out.
See you guys soon.